Hello, and welcome back to the Portswigger Academy SQL Injection series here on CTF Security. I am your host Olajide, and in today's video, we'll be tackling SQL injection vulnerability in where clause allowing retrieval of hidden data. We will explore what makes where clause a target for attackers and how they can manipulate it to unveil data that is meant to be hidden. If any part of this video seems challenging to grasp, please refer to the link in the video description to check out the introductory video for more clarity. So without further ado, let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to the first practical on the Portswigger Web Security Academy SQL Injection series. Just like I said earlier in this video, we'll be taking a look at exploiting SQL injection in the where clause, allowing retrieval of hidden data. Now, if you take a look at the way the Portswigger Web Security Academy labs is being structured, we have the title of our lab in here, then we have the lab description here. Now, from the lab description, it says, sorry about that. Let's quickly go back. Now, for the lab description, it says the lab contains a SQL vulnerability in the product category field. So we might need to document this. So I can quickly go ahead and open a text file, and let's call it 01.txt. All right. Now we know that we have an SQL injection vulnerability in the product category, so we can quickly document that. But first, let's quickly add the title of the lab. Then other information we have is SQL injection in product, let's call it here, product category filter. So the next information here we have is when the user selects a category, the application carry out a SQL query like the following. So we have our original or backend query. So let's just call this original backend query. Now, before we start taking a look at the query, let's just go ahead and finish the description. Here it says, to solve the lab, perform a SQL injection that causes the application to display one or more unreleased products. Now, if you take a look at this backend query, it says, select all columns from product where category equals to gift. In this case, we just assume that the user clicked on the gift category, so it can actually be anything within the category field, and release equals to 1. And just like the category filter, we also have the release filter, meaning that if you are setting the release equals to 1, we want to display all the list of released item. And if you are setting the release equals to 0, that will be the list of unreleased item. But now that we don't have control over the backend query, we're going to see how we can manipulate this query to display both the released and unreleased product in the web application. Now, before we dive in, let's quickly know what the where clause actually means, because we are going to be carrying out an SQL vulnerability that is located in the where clause category. The where clause in SQL is used to filter records and specify criteria that a field in the database must meet to be included in the result set of a query based on a specified condition. Now, what this is saying is that we need to have the condition which stated that the category must be equals to gift and the release item must be equals to 1 in order to have our displayed item. Now, to exploit this, let's quickly access our lab, and this is going to just take a few seconds for the lab to display. Now that we have our lab, you can see that we have our status set to not solved currently. And if you take a look at the web application, we needed to map around the web application to see the behavior of the application. And this happens to be a very simple application. Here we have total number of 12 items listed on the home page. If we navigate out of the all and we move to the accessories, and let's take a look at the URL, you can see we have the URL with the filter endpoint with a parameter category equals to accessories. So what I'm going to do is to grab this and let's go with the URL. I'm just going to paste this in here so that we can take a proper look at what we are working with. Now let's navigate through these different category. Currently I'm in accessories, and let's try to figure out how many items we have in the category. Sorry, I beg your pardon. How many items we have in the accessory categories. And you can see that we just have total number of 3. In the clothing, shoes, and accessories, we also have total number of 3. We have the corporate gift, which is total number of 3 also. And lastly, on the lifestyle, we also have total number of 3, which actually makes sense because when you have 3 in the lifestyle plus 3 in corporate gift, which is 6, plus 3 in the clothes, shoes, and accessories, making it 9, plus 3 in the accessories, making it total number of 12 items that we have in the all section here. Now, our objective of this lab, let's quickly go back there. Our objective in this task is to perform a SQL injection attack that causes the application to display one or more unreleased products. Now, let's go back to our application here. Remember, we have total number of 12, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and we count total number of rows that we have. And we have 1, 2, 3. So that is 3 rows, 4 columns, making it total number of 12 items. And we want to see how we can dump more items, which can include the unreleased item within this web application. So what we're going to do is to simply go to the URL and see how we can inject an SQL payload to display the unreleased and the released item in this web application. But first, we need to select a category that we're going to use for testing. And this time around, I'm going to select the lifestyle. And this is going to just display the 3 items on the lifestyle category. Now we can then go ahead into the application and let's remove this and see what happens. Now we have nothing display on the screen. So what we can do is to go back to the URL and we can try to break the original SQL query. So we can close it out and then we can use a logical operator with a condition that always evaluates to true. Then we can comment out other parts of the query. Now I'm going to be explaining what is actually happening here. Let's quickly grab this payload and let's call this payload. I'm going to paste this. So what is actually happening is within this backend query, let's quickly copy that down. If we remove this gift and we insert our payload into this category filter, so we're going to remove gift and we're going to insert our payload here. What is practically going to happen here is we're going to select all columns from the product table where category is nothing or the condition that always evaluates to true, then we comment out the other part of the query. So this will make the and release equals to 1 not to execute, meaning that we're able to dump both the release and unreleased item from the database. So let's quickly execute this and see how the application behave to this payload. So, and as you can see, congratulations, you have solved the lab. We have our status changed to solved. And if you scroll down, let's see how many items we do have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that is 4 columns. And let's see how many rows do we have. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So meaning that we have the 5 by 4, which actually sum up to 20 items currently in our web application, meaning that we've successfully dumped 8 more unreleased items from the database. So this is how we solve the lab. Now we're going to see how to solve this lab using Python scripting. So what I'm going to do currently now is I'm going to save this. Let's quickly close this. So we can open a new script and we can call this Sublime, and the name of the script is going to be 01.py. All right, cool. Okay, so first thing we need to do, let's quickly, sorry about that. I want to just scroll up a bit. Okay, cool. So let's go back to the lifestyle, and then we are expected to have just our 3 column here. Now, what we need to do is to import some library that we're going to use, and we just need just one library, which is the request library we're going to be using to access the URL of this web application. Then we need another variable called URL, which we're going to use to collect the URL data. In this case, I'm going to use the input statement, and then we're going to just have a message, enter the URL. All right, nice. Next, we need to collect the endpoint. So we're going to be seeing example of this very soon. So let me just quickly grab the structure of the URL once more. And I'm just going to paste it down here with a comment. All right, cool. So we have the endpoint equals to, we're going to also use input to fetch that data from the user. Enter the endpoint. So the next thing we need is the user input. Let's say user input equals to input, and then enter the user input. Okay, so we can now try to fuse these 3 variables together, which will make up the full URL, which is now going to be, let's call it URL2 equals to URL plus endpoint plus user input. All right, cool. And let's see. What next we need to do is to declare the headers, because we need to send some request headers to the server, and we're going to just call these headers, and we're going to pass this like in a dictionary format. So the first header we're going to use is, let's quickly go to our application and let's inspect. So this is actually very, very tiny. So just bear with me. So I'm going to go with the network and I'm going to refresh this page. All right. So when we go to the filter category, we'll try to dump, let's scroll down a little bit. What are the request headers that we have here? Okay, so we have our user agent as one of the request headers. So what I'm going to do is to grab this, copy, let's just copy the value, and I'm going to paste it in here. Now for the request header, for now, let's just make this bold. So we could have here, okay, good. So since we are passing this as a dictionary, we should have the user agent in quotes. Then we need to also specify this value, which is the Mozilla 5.0 in code also. So let's find another user agent from the web application. I can make this kind of little bit bold. We also have, do we have cookie? I'm looking for something like cookie. All right, cool. So we have the cookie part. So I'm going to copy. Let's copy this. Control C. And I'll head back to my script. So we just use comma, and then I'm going to paste this in here. So just like the user agent, we can also make this a string, and then we pass it as a dictionary. Okay. All right. So if we don't want to pass this directly as a string, we can decide to enter it during the program execution. So let's just remove this one, since it can be entered dynamically instead of editing the code. So let's use impute statement for this. Impute, enter the cookie value. Okay, so I guess we are good to go with just these two HTTP header. So the next thing we need to do is to make a request. So let's declare a variable called response equals to request dot get URL2, which is the full URL, and when we're going to pass our headers equals to headers. So I guess that's fine. So first of all, we want to print URL2. Let's just see if this is actually working correctly. Before I print the response, I also want to print response dot text. And let's see what we have. So I'm going to save this. And let's try to execute this. I'm going to open a new terminal. So let's see the document where we have the script. See the SQL injection. All right, so we have our 01.py, Python 301.py. Okay, so we have issues in our code. Let's quickly add S to that. Save. I'm going to run that again. So we're asking for URL. I'll quickly go to my web application and grab just the URL alone. Copy. I'm going to insert that in here. The endpoint is going to be the /filter ? Or let's have it this way. Or /filter up until the equal to, and I'm going to paste this in here. And then lastly, lifestyle is going to be our user input value. Just going to paste this here. Then our cookie value, I'll just quickly grab this. And I'm going to paste it in here. So what do we have? We have an issue, which is timeout. So I'll quickly just refresh this page to see if we have any issue. Okay, cool, which actually makes sense. So I'm going to just close this out and relaunch the lab. So we're obviously going to grab another new cookie to actually solve the lab. So let's quickly run the script again. We need the URL, which is this. We need the filter category. This time around we have gift, so that's not a problem, but we can still select the /filter up until the category, and we're going to copy. I'm going to paste it in here. I'm missing something, so I have to do that again. Let's quickly clear. Copy. For endpoints, we have the /filter category equal to, and for the value or the input value, we have this. And for the cookie, we have to inspect to get our cookie. Then we need to refresh, go to network, and go to filter category equals to gift. And when we scroll down, we'll be able to access our cookie. Session equals to the cookie value, copy value, and let's head back to our script, and we're going to paste this in here. Interestingly, we can see that we've successfully extracted some of the item within this web application. So let's see, for example, we have a product here with ID 53. We have the name as high-end gift wrapping. And if you go back to the gift, let's just quickly close this a little bit. And if you scroll down, you can see it, high-end gift wrapping. And if you go back to the application, do we have another one? Okay, we have the snow delivered to your door, which is actually the second item. And the last one is conversation controlling lemon, which is actually the last one here. So the next thing we need to do is to inject our payload now that our script is working properly. So what we need to do is to head back to our script here. And before we insert our payload, let's quickly insert it one more time here so that we know how many values that we have on this web application. So I can break the query just like I did earlier, or 1 equals to 1, then I'll comment other parts of the query. All right, so you can see that we also have total number of 20 items here. So if we get anything other than 20 items in both the release and unreleased item, it means that we didn't properly implement the Python script. So what we're going to do is quickly head back to our script, and we can just add some more code to this. So instead of printing out the response, what we can do is, before we start adding, let's go back to the web application. We can actually use this to count number of item we have, because you see that every item on the list has these view details attached to them. Same thing if you go to the script we run, you can see that we have looking for view items. Here we have it, view details, view details, view details. So every item on the database has the view details attached to them. So you can see every item has the view details button. So we can actually use this view detail button to figure out how many items we currently have on the web application. So if we have total number of 12, it means that we are only viewing the release item. But if you have up to 20 items, it means that we are currently viewing both the release and unreleased item in the web application. So having known this, we can actually try to declare a new variable, and let's call it view underscore details. And or we can say view details underscore count, and we say equals to response dot text dot count view. So in order to not have a typo error, let's just go ahead to the script and let's fetch how it is being spelled. So let's quickly put that in as a string in here. So let's quickly print view underscore detail. Okay, cool. So let's try to run the application again. So we're expecting the URL just like how we did earlier. I'm going to copy this. I just hope we don't have a timeout again. So let's go ahead. Our endpoint is let's just make this one-sided. Our endpoint is /filter category, copy, and I'm going to paste this in here. Our user input this time around is not going to be a value, but our payload. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it in here. And then our cookie value, we need to inspect. Okay, let's quickly grab that. Paste. So as you can see, the program printed the URL, the full URL of the application, including the payload that we use, and it is able to print that the value is equals to 20. If we try to run this program once more, and then we decide to specify the same URL, so let's quickly copy that and paste. And the endpoint, copy, paste. For the input, let's go with categories, I guess. Let's go with gift. And for the cookie, now we're expected to get 3 as our view detail button here. So you can see it here, meaning that our script is actually functioning properly. So let's go back to the script and just do some filtering. So instead of printing the details out, why not say, let's go back to the code. Why not say if response dot text dot count, then we have it as view detail should be in a string, view details is greater than 12, which is the normal count for items in the release categories. So if you have our item greater than 12, the program should be able to tell us that our injection, SQL injection, is successful. So if we have 12 or less than 12, it means that we are still viewing the released categories of the item in the web application. So finally, else, we can just have print the response dot txt, not txt, text. And I'm going to save this. So we can run our script for the last time. I'm going to clear this. Let's make sure our application hasn't timed out yet. I can just quickly refresh this. Okay, cool. We're still good to go. So let's run our script for the last time. And then we need the full URL, which is going to be our URL, paste. Then we have our endpoint, starting from the /filter up until equals to, and we're going to paste this in here. Then finally, we have our payload, which is going to be, we break the query or 1 equals to 1, then we comment other part of the query and we hit the enter key. Then for our cookie, we just need to go to the inspect network and we can fetch our cookie from here. Session equals to the cookie value. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in here and we're going to execute the program. And we can also edit this to include the total number of items that we have, both the release and unreleased item, which is actually going back here and then just simply printing view underscore details count. So for proof of concept, just the same thing. Okay guys, that will be all in this video. If you've learned one or two things from this video, kindly like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you in the next video.